sounded as bad as it was, and he lost all of the Latino vote. He lost the Asian vote. He lost everybody who is inspired to come into this country. Underscoring the importance of Hispanic concerns in the U.S., later today, President Obama will meet with Mexico's President-elect Enrique Peña Nieto. Here to help explain that importance is Telemundo's Jose Diaz-Balart, joining us from Miami. Jose, it is always a beautiful and sunny day in New York when you join us on this program.
Thank you so much. I've missed you, Alex, but what a day to talk about these issues that really matter. They not only matter the 6th of November, but they're really going to be important going forward for both Democrats and Republicans.
Jose, let's talk first about the immigration piece, because there's been a lot of talk in Republican circles about what the party needs to do to increase its share of the Hispanic electorate. And as of recent days, we know that Republicans on the House are touting support for an immigration bill that effectively focuses on highly educated immigrants. It's a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics visa that primarily targets those who have gotten college educations or higher and allows them to stay in the U.S. longer. It takes away money from other visa programs, which of course is a double-edged sword, although it does increase some visas for the families of immigrants who want to stay in the country or permits them to stay in the country longer. I guess I wonder, does those programs, does progress on the STEM front help Republicans with the Latino electorate?
It does and it doesn't. Let me tell you why. Because if you look at the list of the countries that would benefit under this visa proposal that the Republicans have announced they're going to be talking about, first top 5 countries, there's not one of them from Latin America. So that kind of makes it a moot point as far as if it would be helping Latinos or their family members that want to come in. But on the issue of residents who are here already in the United States and want to bring their families into the United States, the immigration system in this country is broken. Both Republicans and Democrats can agree on that. And one of the things that is clear is that you can't have a country where legal residents that have gone through the process and that have done every check and balance needed can't bring their family members in for decades. So in that sense, it helps. But this is really a drop in the bucket for what is the big 3,000-pound elefante in the room. And that is, there are 11 million people living in this country that have been contributing to this country, that have been contributing to this economy and to this culture, and they are the 800,000-pound elefante that the Republicans have yet to talk about.
This elefante is growing by the minute, 3,000 to 8,000, but as you say, Jose, it is muy grande. And I guess I wonder, then why the window dressing? I mean, we had that list of those affected by the STEM, the progress on the STEM visas. Why not actually try and tackle immigration reform? If everybody realizes your party is in deep trouble come 2016 and beyond with this section of the electorate, which is only growing by the week, why not try and do something real?
Well, look, the fact is, and let's be fair, I think there are some members of Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, who have started talking about going off cameras and talking to each other about what steps can be taken, what baby first steps can be taken to try and reach some bipartisan agreement on immigration reform. And that's important because before you run, you have to learn how to walk. And the Republicans don't know how to walk on this issue yet. So there have been some positive steps taken, baby steps, by Republicans in the House to try and deal with a bipartisan agreement. But the problem is, how do you bring the fringe of the Republican Party in to immigration reform? And you know what? This whooping that the Republicans got from the Latino electorate is going to help them realize that they have to take some steps.
Well, Joy, over here in New York, what is amazing to me is that George W. Bush won 40% of the Latino vote when he was running for president. I believe that was in 2000. Might have been 2004. The Republican Party has regressed
2004.
since 2004. Thank you, Jose. They still, I mean, as the whooping, as Jose points out, hopefully will teach them some lessons and open their eyes to the reality of America. You had an incredible piece, I thought, about New America versus Old America, and the Republican Party has been so resistant to open open its eyes to New America. Karl Rove and Charles Krauthammer, leading Republican voices, saying, hey, this isn't as hard as we think it is. Latinos are just as conservative as we are. Erin Carmen, writing in a Salon today, drop the anti-immigrant rhetoric. Focus on the family values that Latinos supposedly share with the party. But that magic solution proposed by Rove and Krauthammer to the Republicans' demographic problem that some conservatives are touting, which conveniently allows the party to resist moderating on so-called social issues like gay marriage and abortion, is unlikely to pan out. As evidence, you look at exit polls among Latino voters on abortion, 66% think it should be kept legal, 29% say it should be illegal.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, who is going to do that new messaging? Rush Limbaugh? Like, who do they think the base of the Republican Party listens to? Charles Krauthammer? I don't think so. I mean, the problem that the Republicans have, they spent 30 years messaging negatively to minorities. You can't just dangle a couple of brown people in front of minorities and say, hey, look at that guy. He's Hispanic like you, and think that you can wipe away 30 years of negative messaging. The problem is the base of the Republican Party is anti-immigration. They don't want to have what they still consider to be amnesty for the 11 million people living in this country. They are going to resist it. They have tissue rejection for the idea. So I'm not sure how Republicans think that a Democratic president signing, let's say, a DREAM Act is going to help them, because on substantive issues outside of immigration, the Latino population is trending toward Democrats on other issues, economic, social issues.
And Jose,
so what are they going to do?
That's a good point. If the DREAM Act is signed into law, doesn't President Obama get credit for that more so than Republicans?
Sure. No, look, when you box yourself into a corner, you're in the corner. You can't all of a sudden not want to be in that corner if you box yourself into that corner. So, yeah, it's a fait accompli. The fact is that if President Obama signs a DREAM Act, even though it's a bipartisan bill, he will get much of the credit. I disagree just a little bit with my dear friend Joy in that I think that in the whole, the Latino population in the United States is a little bit more socially conservative. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't, for example, think that people should have, women should have the right to choose if they have an abortion or not. But on other issues, for example, I think they're much more religious. I think that the churches matter much more to the Latino population than they do maybe for the mainstream population. And so I think that there is a possibility for Republicans to make some leeway. Let's remember, 44% of the Latino vote for George W. Bush wasn't because it was, out of the sky. He actually worked for it. And remember that the last immigration proposal that was seriously discussed on Capitol Hill was done under George W. Bush. And he pushed very hard for that Kennedy-McCain bill, which didn't pass. So, there is a possibility. And let's not forget that 1.4 million people, Latinos, have been deported under the Obama administration. So there is a possibility that if they change their semantics and then their actions, that they can maybe get 44% of the vote next time around.
One thing is for sure, it is a very grand elefante. 3,000 pounds, 8,000 pounds.
Correctamente.
Muchas gracias, Jose. You can catch Jose Diaz-Balart every night at 6:30.